for any of you that I don't know, I haven't met, I'm Dan Hussey, managing partner of Hussey Philanthropic. I have the great honor of running our family firm. My dad started the company about 30 years ago, and we really specialize in working with clients, helping them bring their transformational vision to life. And we do that through large-scale fundraising campaigns. So that's what we specialize in doing, is helping our clients achieve their vision, whether that's programmatic or a project, through large-scale fundraising campaigns. Dr. Megan's here to talk about just leadership in general, and more particularly, the conversation that we wanted to have was kind of leading through the unknown. We've all experienced a ton of unknown, whether it's in your business, whether it's in your charity, whether it's in your personal life. And there's certain things that we can do to lead through those unknown times. There's certain principles and characteristics that we can apply. And those can be really valuable, especially if you are in a leadership role. And so I'm honored to have Dr. Megan with us today. Maybe to start us off is we found a commonality that people hate chiropractic, and people aren't shy telling me that they hate fundraising. So maybe we can jump off there and just dive into, how do you respond when somebody says, I hate chiropractic, I hate your profession, I hate the thing that you're passionate about, yet oddly, I'm sitting in front of you for maybe some kind of treatment.
When I graduated and became a chiropractor, I realized that I had a bit of an uphill battle, because there's a stigma around my profession that we are a little bit like car salespeople, or once you see a chiropractor once, you have to keep going, that maybe I was going to kill them instead of help them. And so there was just a lot of resistance that I realized in the general public. Like, when people would ask me what I did, and I mentioned I was a chiropractor, they would say, oh, why didn't you just pick medicine? Or why didn't you become a physiotherapist or an optometrist? That seems like a really waste of your time. And so I realized that I was going to have to get good at selling what I believed in, because I knew that it would help people. And that was the first time I think I started really facing that resistance when I would go out.
I think there's a real parallel to any of us who have done fundraising. When you try to get others on your team involved in fundraising, there is that, pretty abrupt, I hate fundraising, I don't want to do it. And it truly is a misconception about what it is. You shared, a car salesman, fundraising gets the same, paintbrush of your arm twisting, you're convincing people, you're begging for money, all of these sort of negative connotations. And I couldn't, similar to your profession, I couldn't believe that that's the way people saw our profession. And I couldn't believe it's so far from the truth from what we actually do. We strongly advocate that fundraising is relationship based. It's all about creating a mutually beneficial experience between those who have resources and want to help, and those who are experts in helping and need resources. It's really this matching exercise. And how do you go through that sort of disarming process so that you get to that mutually beneficial experience?
So the strategy I usually use is that I try to acknowledge and validate that it's normal for them to feel scared. I said, chiropractic is definitely a little bit weird. Not everybody knows what to expect. And, it is actually completely normal. And most of my patients that come in to see me feel exactly the same way as you. So rather than saying there's nothing to be scared of and you'll be fine, I usually try to lean into their fear. And then I ask questions. Yeah. So I do know that mindset is very important. And I want to know what has led that person, A, to be in my chair, but B, to be confident enough to tell me that they still don't think that I'll be able to help them, or they don't like the kind of therapy they think I'm going to give them. And so once I start asking questions like, can you tell me a little bit more about what you know about chiropractic, or, what your expectation is in terms of like where you are today and how long it's going to take you to get better. And we talk about some of the factors that have influenced that person's opinion or their belief system, and, try to go through and answer questions.
I think that's a fantastic application that all of us who are trying to get, people to join us in fundraising, whether it's board or staff, could really apply, because there are so many misconceptions about fundraising. And I think one of the greatest fears that people have about fundraising is rejection. I'm going to get rejected. If I ask somebody for money, they're going to say no to me. And, often the people that we ask for money are people that we know. And therefore it's difficult to be rejected by somebody that and to not take it personally. So I think understanding the fears about why may somebody not want to fundraise is a great way to start building that trust, to say, well, in our philosophy, we actually encourage you not to ask for money until you get permission. And I like that your profession also has this informed consent. We use a model of, asking for permission to continue through the donor journey. So, asking for permission to tell them a story, tell them about the charity, asking for permission about, are they interested? Now that what you've heard, the information that you have, are you interested in learning more about the charity? Are you interested in actually helping? And so it's continually kind of, in a way, asking for consent, asking for permission to move through those different stages. Maybe just describe at a level for everybody on this call, where you started and where you are today, and some of the different leadership challenges that you've faced through that journey.
So I had a good knowledge of the human body, but no knowledge of anything business related. And one of the things I realized is learning how to be an entrepreneur is a massive challenge, because you are responsible for bringing in business, taking care of your clients. And in 2008, we decided that we were going to open the Chiropractic Wellness Studio inside a local gym. So it was a gym kind of like Good Life. It was called World Health here in Alberta. And we were in a small corner. It was 500 square feet. There was no front door, 2 treatment rooms. So what we did is we got some signs and we made that into our front door, and we innovated. We took this little space and we converted it into a cute little space that we could do chiropractic from. So we grew in that time frame within that small space to 5 chiropractors. So there were 5 of us working out of 2 rooms, and we had to figure out how are we going to coordinate our schedules and how are we going to make sure that, everybody's on the same page. A short period of time, we decided we were going to relocate. And one of the decisions I had to make was, what size of space am I going to move next to? Because do we want to go a little bit bigger? Do we want to go a lot bigger? And so we decided on a 4,000 square foot space. So we went from 500 to 4,000, and we literally did that in the course of one day. And so one of the things that I didn't anticipate was how difficult that move would be on the team, because I figured it's the same software, it's the same chiropractors, it's the same stuff, it's just a bit of a different location. But psychologically, it had a massive impact on my team. And within the first month of being at the new location, we had 1 or 2 people quit. They said, this isn't what I signed up for. This is what I expected. Now you're asking me to add massage therapy to the chiropractors, and I don't know where anything on the front desk is supposed to go. And so that kind of blew my mind, because I was like, you get to choose where you put the pens. You get to choose where you put the new stuff. You have all this new space, and it's better, but they found it extremely overwhelming. So what I didn't do well in that one-day move was anticipate the emotional impact that change would have on my team. And I had to course correct quite quickly, and so I sat down and I had somebody crying, and I said, why are you so upset? It's the same thing. And she said, it's so overwhelming. We have all these new rooms and we have all this new stuff, and you didn't tell us where to put it. And this is difficult. And so that was, for me, a really good eye opener. And one of my leadership challenges was, okay, I guess I didn't think about preparing my team for the change. I just was too busy focusing on all the logistics and the operational things, but I didn't think about the people. And I guess that's what's kind of important in our talk today, is why thinking about the people is really, really important when you're trying to implement a change.
What would you think are some of the things that you would change to address those, fears and insecurities?
If I were to do it again and I were to make those changes, I would recognize that there was going to be some resistance. So one of the things I now do is I try to locate the resistors early. I get out there and I ask everybody, how are you feeling about what we're proposing? We want to raise this goal, of how many millions of dollars for fundraising. How do you feel about that? Do you think we can achieve it? And you get your optimists who are like, yeah, I think we can do it. And then, you also get somebody who crosses their arms and goes, well, that's a hefty goal. And you can see immediately that there's a little bit of resistance or they're not buying in at that point. So I tend to try to focus on that piece. So I can see that person's going to be my naysayer. They're my difficult, person. So I say, tell me more about why do you think that's going to be such a hefty goal? Or why do you think we're going to have a difficulty with that? And they'll say, roll their eyes and say, well, we've always done it this way. People aren't going to want to change it. Or you're expecting me to do more for the exact same pay you're paying me. Or you're, having this grandiose vision that I just can't see, how we're going to get there. And so I usually will try to engage those people, just like with my patients, figure out what the points of concern are or resistance, and then say to them, you bring up really good, valid points. I didn't think of that. Would you be willing to work with me on, helping me identify what you think the issues are going to be? And maybe you and I could brainstorm or come up with some ideas around when that thing happens, how are we going to navigate through it? And so I try, to see if I can get that person to have a more open mind. I'll ask them sometimes, are you willing to trust me and have an open mind and help me, because I know I can't do it myself. I need a team. And you're right. You brought up some excellent points that, we should address before, we get into it. So,
I think that's such a critical part of fundraising, especially as we continue to try to grow the organization. And usually a transformational fundraising campaign is that quantum leap from where we are today to that next level of the organization. And there are going to be the detractors, and understanding their concerns. And I think, as you described it, they bring a lot of perspective that you may not have considered.
I think psychology, not policy, is very important. Policies are important as you're trying to show new things, but you also want to really focus on the internal shift that an individual needs to go through when they're changing their mindset about something, or you're introducing a new concept to your team. And so asking the questions so this is what I'm thinking. How does that make you feel? Do you like it? Do you not like it? I do it right from the beginning when I introduce something. And then I ask for everybody throw your ideas in the pot. What do you think is going to be hard? What do you think our biggest challenge will be? What do you think it will look like if we're successful? And everybody seems to be open to they want to have some input, and they want to be able to tell you what they think won't work, what their biggest fear is, and then you have people who are championing it too, saying I think this is a great idea. That people person, that people part. It's the same with, you mentioned relationships with fundraising. My success as a chiropractor has been my relationships with my patients, listening to them, being a real person. I use self-disclosure sometimes and say you know what, I get back pain too. You wouldn't think I should, being a chiropractor, but I do. And so I think just being a real human is important as a leader, because people see you as the all-knowing person with all the answers. And I often say to them, I don't have the answers right now. We need to collectively think about the strategy, think about what's going to be hard, come up with some solutions. And then I try to really give people credit when, I don't need to have all the credit myself.
I think that's a fantastic description of leadership, being human, being open to the fact that you don't have all the answers, utilizing your team to their fullest ability, because you're right, they have great ideas, they also have challenges, but ultimately nobody wants to be told what to do day in, day out, and they want feedback, they want to be consulted, especially as you go through a transformational change. I think that's the time to really lean into that philosophy. So that's really important.
One quick tip I have is get entrepreneurial friends. I now will not on a regular basis hang out with government employees anymore because they don't understand me. So I find that if you surround yourself with people who are on the same journey, but even if they're much bigger than you or much smaller than you, I love it when Dan and I can chit chat about we talked about similar but different challenges. I'm oh my God, people think they hate chiropractic. He's people think they hate fundraising, but we can help each other even though we're in such different businesses. I said to him when I first met him, I was oh my God, fundraising, that is my nightmare. How do you do this? And so, when he sat down and explained to me your 7 principles and how you approach fundraising, it was like the light bulb went on for me, just like some of the times it does for my chiropractic patients. They're
Sure.
like, oh, I just didn't get that. So like, I'm amazed by you, Dan, and what, how you've structured some of your things, and you realize that things are processes. If you can establish a proper process and you have the experience to have that end goal and vision, you really can achieve a lot of stuff. You just have to like think outside the box. So yeah, that's my little tip, is get some entrepreneurial friends so they'll understand you better, Paul.
That's great. No, thanks for that. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Dr. Megan. I appreciate it. So how do we turn, this leadership stuff into fundraising leadership? And so as Megan alluded to, we have 7 key things that we focus on around transformational fundraising. And fundraising leadership is one of those critical aspects. When we focus on fundraising leadership, what we're talking about is really you, whether you're in a senior development role, whether you're an executive director, really understanding what needs to be done when you're considering a large scale fundraising campaign. And it's really, as Dr. Megan talked about, we need to change as leaders, and we need to really consider who we're leading. And often we need to push ourselves outside of our comfort zone. We need to do things that we may have never done before. We don't know the answers to the questions that our team may have, or we may even have. But in order to get to that next level, we really need to push ourselves as individuals. And this is a little bit more mindset than it is strict process. It really does come down to self-reflection and helping those in our organization also make that transition as we grow and as we change. And so this is all about being able to climb that mountain. And that mountain is your fundraising campaign. It may be the large scale project that you're taking on. It's really that process of moving your organization from where they are today to where you want to be. And that really starts with you. It starts with you as a leader, looking at who you manage on your team, looking who you manage and support in terms of board members, and also looking at who you serve in terms of clients and donors. They're all really important in this journey that your organization is going on. And so one of the things that I find particularly valuable as we consider being leaders is coming back to our vision. And that vision really should be in the form of your strategic plan. Not only is it what you personally believe, but it should be sprinkled into your organizational key documents, like your strategic plan, our mission, our vision, our values, our key projects, our key initiatives. Where are we going as an organization? And that clarity really comes from those documents. And that clarity is really essential in the fundraising process, because you're asking people to come join you. You're asking board members, donors, clients, staff to come join you in this journey. So having clarity about where are we going and where do we see, how do we see the world? You need to be able to answer that question. And anytime that you kind of get lost in where are we going, being able to ground yourself in some of those key documents that can bring you back and guide you to say, oh yes, this is where we're going as an organization. This is the impact that we're trying to make. This is why we're pursuing this new project, whether it's a campaign in terms of a capital project or programmatic. That focus really creates passion. It creates passion in yourself when things may be difficult, but it also creates passion in your team, and it creates passion in donors. If donors are really clear about where the organization is going, the impact that we're trying to make, that better world end state that we're trying to get to, it's a lot easier to ask people to come join you. If it's not really clear where we're going and we're not really clear about the impact that we're trying to make, it's really hard to get people passionate and involved and trying to get them to come alongside you. The importance of having that clarity of vision from a fundraising perspective, you as a leader know where you're going. It really turns into performance of the organization. And that's also something that donors are looking at. They want to invest in organizations that are clear about where they're going, and they are going to make an impact. This innovative large-scale project that you're asking them to fund is going to make the world a better place. where this comes back to the fundraising piece is this is really about relationship-based fundraising. It's about, the organization is going in this direction. We want our donors to join us. We want our donors to come with us. And so we're going to have to consult them. We're going to have to support them because they're going through a mind shift as well. Their mindset about, well, you guys have always done this, or your organization has only been located here, or you've never, been involved in this kind of support for clients. I didn't think you did that. So there's really going to be a journey that your donors go on as well as your organization grows and changes. And their mindset, their buy-in to this journey is just as critical as your staff team, as your board, because ultimately they're going to be your funders. They're going to be the ones who are investing their capital. They're investing in your organization to make sure that this good comes to fruition. And so it really is this mutual beneficial experience between you have resources, we have expertise. Do you agree with our new vision? Do you agree with the direction that our organization is going? And listen to any of the feedback, any of the, the fears about the direction of the organization. So maybe I'll kind of stop it there. I would like to offer for anybody that doesn't feel comfortable asking a question in this setting. Maybe I'll leave it here on this slide. If you wanted to ask a question privately, you wanted to just have a discussion about your organization, where you are, feel free to book in for a free discovery call. You can use the QR code here where it says free discovery call. Or if you're seriously considering a large scale fundraising campaign, we also have our free campaign readiness scorecard. It goes through the 7 key elements. It goes through vision, leadership, all the different other elements, and really asks you some key questions that we would ask of you to determine how ready are you for large scale fundraising. You get a 20-page, 25-page PDF that's custom to you in the way that you've answered those questions about how ready you are and some of the things that you could improve on your campaign readiness. So feel free to use that resource